Corvus Corax, also known as the Lord of Shadows, was the Primarch of the 19th Legion of the Legione Astartes, the Raven Guard. When the gestation pods containing the embryonic forms of the Primarchs were scattered across the galaxy by the Chaos Gods, the pod containing the infant Corax would come to rest upon the mining moon of Lycaeus. Like the majority of his brothers, the infant Primarch would be found and raised by humans, and in Corax's case, it was at the hands of the Lycaean work slaves who were imprisoned upon the moon, labouring under the yoke of the Kievaran tech guilds. Sensing something special within the young Primarch, Corax's very existence was kept hidden from the Guilders, and in secret, Corax would be both nurtured and educated by his new extended family, who would teach the young Primarch many things, such as the art of politics and philosophy. As he grew to maturation, Corax would begin to develop a strong sense of justice, and after witnessing how poorly the prisoners upon Lycaeus were treated at the hands of their masters, the Primarch would eventually lead them in open and violent revolt against the Kievaran tech guilds. Soon after liberating their former prison and subjecting the Guilder's stronghold upon Kievar to an intense nuclear bombardment, the Emperor of Mankind would become reunited with his lost son. Corvus Corax would swear his fealty to the Master of Mankind, and would be granted command of the 19th Legion. Corvus Corax was also one of the Loyalist Primarchs who were present during the Istvan V Dropsite massacre, where the majority of the Raven Guard Legion was slaughtered due to the Wordbearers, Alpha Legion, Iron Warriors, and Night Lord's legions betraying the Imperium and siding with the War Master Horus Lupercal in his rebellion against the Emperor. Over 93% of the Raven Guard forces upon Istvan V would be slain by traitor Legion forces, and Corax, along with the few remaining Astartes under his command, would only survive this massacre thanks to the timely arrival of an evacuation force led by Commander Bran Nev that was comprised of the few warriors from the Legion's reserve. In order to rebuild his Legion and bring it back to combat strength, Corax and the remainder of his Legion would travel to Terra, and the Primarch would request the Emperor's aid in replenishing the losses that the Raven Guard had suffered upon Istvan. The Emperor would divulge the location of one of his hidden laboratories to his son. This laboratory contained within it not only pure and untainted samples of Primarch genetic material, but also the necessary research in order to properly utilize it. Corax would use this pure genetic material to create a brand new force of 500 Astartes in just a matter of weeks, a force that would become known as the Raptors. However, these Raptors would eventually succumb to rampant mutation due to the project being sabotaged by a cadre of Alpha Legion double agents. As a result of this, Corax would be unable to restore his Legion to full strength until after the culmination of the Horus Heresy. Corvus Corax was also notable for being one of the Primarchs that willingly accepted the introduction of the Codex Astartes, written by the Primarch of the Ultramarines, Rabute Guilliman, and would have his Legion divided into a series of chapters. These successor chapters would include the Knights of the Raven and the Raptors. But soon after his Legion was split into chapters, Corax would lock himself within the Ravenspire, a great tower upon the moon of Lycaeus, which had since been renamed to Deliverance following its liberation. Exactly 1 year and a day later, the Raven Guard Primarch would emerge from the Ravenspire before he would commandeer a vessel and make his way into the warp space rift known as the Eye of Terror. His last recorded words were simply, "Nevermore." So, what could have happened to him? What's important to note is the last recorded communication Corax had with his chapter, where he uttered the phrase, "Nevermore." While these words are a reference to the poem The Raven by the ancient Terran poet Edgar Allan Poe, the meaning of the word "nevermore" equates to "never again." Indeed, it is well known that Corvus Corax felt an incredible amount of guilt over the sheer number of his gene sons who perished during the course of the Horus Heresy, even to the point of preventing his body from healing from any wounds inflicted upon him for prolonged periods of time. One such example comes from the novel Deliverance Lost, with the following passage when Corax would make planetfall upon Terra.
His wounds still pained him, occasional stabs of sensation that broke through the walls of his semi-mesmeric state. He would shift his weight to relieve the stress on ravaged ribs, to move pressure away from damaged organs. Corax's engineered body could withstand incredible amounts of damage, and yet there was something deeper than the physical wounds that afflicted the Primarch. The pain was something he forced himself to endure, as a reminder of his failure. He suffered a hurt that no superhuman body could rectify, a grievous injury that the attention of the apothecaries would not cure. Until he could bring an end to that internal agony, he would not allow his body to heal.
Not only that, but Corax would also feel immense guilt due to the failure of the Raptor project, which turned once proud and noble Raven Guard Astartes into shambling monsters. As such, the most likely reason for Corax abandoning his gene sons, and in turn the Imperium, is that Corax sought to somehow atone for his failures with his Legion and in defending Terra. As a result, one can speculate that Corax's motivation for journeying into the Eye of Terror would be simply to hunt down and execute his traitorous kin. Those traitor Primarchs who would survive the events of the Horus Heresy, Lorgar, Angron, Magnus, Perturabo, Mortarion, and Fulgrim, would all eventually ascend to demonhood, becoming the rulers of demon worlds within the Warp in the process. As such, it's entirely feasible that Corax would seek to track down and slay his traitorous brothers for their crimes against their father, the Emperor of Mankind. After all, it has been documented that Corax would grow to hate, even despise his brothers for their betrayal, a revelation that would initially shock the Raven Guard Primarch, when he felt such feelings surge forth from within him as he battled against Konrad Curze of the Night Lord's Legion upon Isstvan V. This would appear to be the most likely course of action that Corvus Corax would undertake, especially given the information revealed within the story Shadow of the Past from the Sons of the Emperor anthology. Following his journey into the Eye of Terror, Corax would make his way to an unnamed moon where the members of the Wordbearer's traitor Legion were in the process of constructing a great temple to the Chaos Gods, known as the Beneficta Diabola. The Raven Guard Primarch, his body now somehow able to take on the form of a fanged and taloned mist-like creature, would begin to slay the traitor Astartes, one by one. The Wordbearers would initially believe that the Primarch was in fact a demonic entity that had somehow found its way past the numerous warding runes which were erected to protect their slave labourers from the predations of Warpspawn. Eventually, Lorgar, the Primarch of the Wordbearers, who was now at this point a demon prince of Chaos Undivided, was forced to intervene. The demon Primarch would lay his eyes upon this shifting morass of death, recognizing it as not being a demon, but in fact his brother, and at Lorgar's insistence, Corax would revert to his true form. Corax would become stunned at his brother's new demonic appearance, and in turn, Lorgar himself was surprised by the new abilities that his loyalist brother now possessed, who, in addition to being able to transform into a mist-like state, was now also able to become a flock of flame-eyed ravens at will. When Lorgar inquired about Corax's new abilities, the Raven Guard Primarch would deliver the following quote.
"I am what I have always been. I am vengeance incarnate. I am justice delivered. This place beyond the veil has revealed what we all are. Underneath the veneer of humanity that our father crafted for us, we are of the warp. I swore to destroy all chaos taint from the galaxy. You will be the first brother to die beneath my blades.
The two Primarchs would then battle fiercely against one another, before Lorgar would flee through a warp gate and returning to the demon world of Sakaris. As such, it is still logical to assume that Corax is still hunting his fallen kin within the depths of warp space. Whether or not the Raven Guard Primarch would survive such a mission, however, is a matter for debate. But could there be more to Corax's mission than the Primarch simply desiring to kill his brothers out of vengeance? Instead, is it possible that Corax had in fact sworn something akin to a death oath? The swearing of a death oath is used by many chapters of the Adeptus Astartes as a form of punishment for severe crimes, and those who undertake such an oath are charged with delivering the Emperor's judgment against the enemies of humanity. One notable example of a death oath being sworn was when the captain of the Ultramarines' 4th Company, Uriel Ventress, was sentenced to undertake a death oath as a result of his actions during the Battle of Tarsus Ultra. Instead of following the doctrines laid out by the Codex Astartes, Ventress would abandon his company in order to lead a Deathwatch kill team aboard a Tyrannid Hive ship to slay a Norn queen. This flagrant disregard of the Codex Astartes was considered a crime punishable by death to the Ultramarines chapter. Corvus Corax was indeed known to be rather fatalistic, and sought to die fighting against the traitor Primarchs before his rescue at the hands of Commander Bran. During the events of the Dropsite Massacre, Corax had come to accept that he would die at the hands of his brother Angron, the Primarch of the World Eaters Legion, and admitted to himself that, while he would almost certainly die, he was happy that there would be an almost imperceptibly small chance that he would kill his brother first. As a result, Corax, wishing to undertake a death oath to redeem himself for not only the Raven Guard's near extinction upon Istvan V, but also the failure of the Raptor project that mutated numerous healthy aspirants beyond redemption. By swearing such an oath, Corax could not only redeem himself for any self-perceived failures, but also bring about the Emperor's justice to his treasonous brothers. Until Corvus Corax returns to aid the Imperium once more, if he ever returns at all, we may never know for certain. What do you think happened to Corvus Corax? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.